Hi, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes, and today I'm going to show you how to make these delicious, chewy chocolate chip cookies, which I've adapted from Jacques Torres' original recipe. It was also made famous by the New York Times and highly recommended by many bakers. So let's get started. First of all, you will need 1 2/3 of a cup of bread flour, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Try to use the pure, not the imitation, because the flavor will be better. And you'll need 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of kosher salt. You will also need to have 2 large eggs and 283.5 grams of softened unsalted butter. You'll also need to have 2 cups minus 2 tablespoons of cake flour and 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of custard sugar, as well as 1 1/4 cups of light brown sugar firmly packed. And then you can just add 460 grams of chocolate chips of your choice. Here I am just using 230 grams of real milk chocolate chips and real dark chocolate. Start by sifting your bread flour into a large mixing bowl. If your bowl is not as wide as mine, so this is a technique you can use to sift it in order to prevent creating such a big mess. So you just stir it like so all the flour gets sifted. And if your bowl is big enough, you can sift your flour like this. This is me sifting the cake flour. So you just shake it like this. You can tell it's much easier, but if your bowl isn't big enough, it's gonna go all over the place. Then you sift your baking powder, baking soda, and your kosher salt. As you can see, the kosher salt is much thicker than regular table salt, bigger grains. So I was only doing that just to sift out the baking soda and baking powder and just pour in your salt. Then you just mix it all really well until it's all combined, and then just set it aside. Then just sift in your light brown sugar in a separate bowl. You really need to do this part because light brown sugar has a tendency to really clump up and create big rocks inside them. So by doing this, you prevent any huge chunks of brown sugar in your cookies later on. As you can tell, like using a whisk, it was kind of hard for me to push through the sugar, so I decided to take a spoon and still try to press it through. At the same time, this did not work fully, so I just guesstimated how much sugar did not go through and grabbed a couple tablespoons more brown sugar until I was satisfied with how much brown sugar had been sifted into my mixture. I just continued to step until I am left with chunks that could not be sifted through, and I just chuck them aside. Then you sift in your white sugar, and white custard sugar is much easier to sift because it's drier and the grains are small. So just do that. You see these big chunks, just get a spoon and just press it in and it would sift through really easily. Once that's all done, just mix the 2 sugars together until you reach an even consistency where the light brown sugar and white sugar is nicely combined. Once you're done with that, add in your softened unsalted butter. You can see that my butter really wasn't soft enough, so it did give me a little bit more difficulty when beating in my butter into my sugar. If you're using an electric stand mixer, just put it on low for about 3 to 5 minutes and continue beating until your mixture is light and fluffy. You can actually really just use a whisk for this because I've done that before, but your butter has to be really soft so that it's going to be much easier for you to do so. And you will know your mixture is done when your sugar and butter looks something like this. You can see that it has really lightened significantly in color and is light and fluffy. Look at that. Doesn't it look so good? Anyways, once that is done, you can now add in your eggs one at a time, beating well after each addition. Here comes egg number 2, and boom! Now you just beat that well as well. Once that's done, you just add in your 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and beat that well. And slowly add in your flour mixture into your butter mixture in 3 additions, mixing well until everything is combined. It might be a little bit hard to use a hand whisk for this step, So if you have an electric hand mixer, or even better, an electric stand mixer, your life would be so much easier. But it is definitely still possible to just use a hand whisk, because I have done so before. As you can see, if the flour gets stuck in your whisk, just use a spatula and press that out. Try to fold in the sides slowly and just try to continue whisking it until the mixture looks something like this. You can see it's really quite thick, and when I try to pick it up, it's quite firm, and when I press my fingers into it, my fingerprint still stays in there. This is the texture that you want. Now you're ready for the fun part of pouring in the chocolate chips. Here, after I've poured it in, I used a plastic spoon because I find this spatula is a bit too soft for me to mix it in. So using this big spoon ladle looking thing, I just fold in the chocolate chips. You don't want to use a mixer for this because you don't want to grind up the chocolate chips. You just want to fold it into your mixture. So once that's done, your mixture should look like this, nice and evenly coated in delicious chocolate chips. There are two ways in which you can chill your dough. Firstly, you can leave your dough inside the bowl and press a plastic wrap over the dough like so. This will prevent it from drying out while it sits in your fridge. Alternatively, if you need to use your bowl for something, you can just remove your dough and wrap it in plastic sheet. As you can see right here, I did not have enough plastic wrap here, so I just double protected it with another layer of plastic wrap. Once you are done with that, just put it in the fridge and let it chill for at least 24 to 36 hours. You don't want it to chill for too long either, because then your baking times will be different. So between 24 and 36 hours is the best time for the following step. Here my dough has been chilled for about 30 hours. And once I've unraveled it from my plastic wrap, you can see that it's actually quite hard, almost impossible to break apart bits of the dough in order for you to roll them to balls. So it's much easier to work in smaller pieces. So just grab a knife, chip it through and break the ends off. From there, it's just so much easier to just snap off a handful from the ends. And because the dough is still really cold and firm, you just have to really use some strength to squish it, to like crush it into a round ball to make it really compact and firm. So once you've done that, just try to roll it into a smooth ball and set it aside. You can continue doing as many as would fit onto your baking tray. So here I'm just showing you a close-up of what it looks like when it's nice and smooth. And if you live in a really hot country or it's summer and your dough just softens too quickly, just put them back into a plastic wrap and put it on the fast chill section of your fridge and stick it in there for about 20 minutes while your oven preheats, because you want your dough to be really cold and firm before you bake them. This will ensure that its shape stays a lot better, as well as it gives you a smoother finish on the top. Here I am just pressing down and rolling out my cookie dough, trying to smoothen it, as bits of cookie dough might have stuck to the other balls while it was sitting in the fridge. So as the recipe calls for it, you just sprinkle a little bit of salt over them, and I could tell they didn't really stick onto the dough, so I just rolled it gently over the salt so that a tiny bit of salt will stay on it. I find that the salt really brings out the caramel taste in the cookies well, but you can totally leave this step out if you don't like it. But that's what I did to get the salt to just stick to parts of my cookie balls. And then you just stick it in the oven at 150 degrees for 20 minutes. Just a side note that if you chill your cookie dough for longer than 36 hours, maybe for like 40 hours or so, your dough is going to cook a lot quicker and cause your cookie to be a lot harder if you bake at this temperature. So temperatures do vary depending on how long you chill your dough for. I hope this video has been helpful in helping you achieve these delicious chewy chocolate chip cookies. Until next time, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherrylene's Cupcakes. For a continuation to this video, please click the link on the top right hand corner to learn how to make these peanut butter and Nutella stuffed choc chip cookies. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know how you go with this recipe.